So, question number 1. Was there any difficulty with question number 1?
No.
Yes. Okay. Let's go. I've heard 1 yes, that's all it takes. 3 times negative 6m plus 6. Equals 30 minus 6m. So this is just straight up equation solving. Nothing that's different. Let's get our earbud out of our ears. Thank you very much. Doesn't matter. Okay. We distribute.
Oh, I know why I got it wrong.
Okay.
I wrote 3 instead of 30. My bad.
There we go.
I do that a lot too.
And when you copy down there, again, that's not a question of not knowing what you're doing. It's just that's a moving too fast.
I just can't see at all.
Okay. Then we subtract the 30. I get negative 12 equals 12m. So m equals negative 1. Pretty simple. All right. Wake up, old man. Okay. So you get to dress like an old man, not act like one. All right. Square root of 32.
That's 4 square root of 2.
Okay. Again, now I've seen a lot of people doing it the factor tree way, where they go, okay, 32 is 8 times 4, or 4 times 2, and this is 2 times 2, and they get 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2.
16.
Okay, so this pair of 2's gives me a 2, this pair of 2's gives me a 2, and this single 2 gives me a root 2, so 4 root 2.
Or you could choose 16.
Easier way of doing it, I think, is to say this is root 16 times root 2, which is 4 root 2. Okay. Either way, it doesn't matter. Yes.
In the tree, aren't you supposed to use the highest factor?
That's for the second option.
That's the second option. For the tree, you can use any factors. I could use 16 and 2. I could use 8 and 4. Whatever I want. Okay. You don't have to know how to do both of them. You only have to know how to do one. All right? But either way is good. Number 3. Again, very picky as to how we name things. 3 points that are coplanar. Sorry. Well, then take off those glasses. 3 points that are coplanar. J, K, and G would qualify, and we'd just say J, K, and G. You could, I guess, get away with E, G, and F as well, because they are coplanar, but they're also collinear. But you probably could get away with that because they are coplanar, E, G, and F. But again, we would just say E, G, and F. We're just naming points. We aren't naming planes, lines, or anything like that. Yes, to separate them. You'd want to separate them. You probably should. I'm not sure right now. Depends on how you do it. Separate them somehow. 2 names for line JG. All right? That would be JG or GJ. But you have to have the line symbol. If you don't have the line symbol, it's wrong. If you use a segment or array or no symbol at all, you're not naming a line. Yes? No. Because it takes 2 points to determine a line, not just 1. The only time we name with 1 is if we're naming something that is not a point, if we're naming the line itself, and there's nothing here indicating a line itself.
But it says give me 2 names for G and G.
Yes. Well, but without the symbol. So I was looking for it with the symbol. So no, we can't just use 1 letter. We have to use 2 points. Yes. Question? Okay. All right. Another name for ray E-G would be ray E-F. Again, rays have to have the same, if it's the same ray, it has to have the same end point. You can't just reverse the letters in a ray like you can in a line, because rays are directional.
Wouldn't it be the same start?
No, because EG starts at E and goes through F, G, and F. G doesn't start until G. It's a different ray. It starts at a different place. The first letter, whenever we name array,
It's always
Okay.
minimum, right?
the first letter is always where it's a starting point. Now, we often refer to that as an end point, too, because it depends on which way you think about it, starting or end. It doesn't really matter. And this point is just some point along the way, but if it has a different starting point, it's a different array. Opposite arrays have the same starting point as well. Sorry, these things keep slipping down. It's really annoying. How do people do this? I don't know. Yeah, but this way everyone can see that I've got my cool smokes with me, because I'm a cool 50s guy, and 50s guys all smoke cigarettes. That's right. So they're all dead now. All right. Number 6, find BC. That was 54 minus 25. For those who are keeping track, 29. Any problems there? 7, midpoint. Midpoint formula. No.
Oh, plus.
The thing to remember about midpoints is midpoints are averages. I've got people not paying attention, and folks, basically we are correcting your test that you're going to take on Thursday right now. I'm going over exactly how to do every problem on the test. If you're not paying attention to this, you're really making a big mistake. You need to be paying attention, because this is important. Even if you think you know how to do everything, think again. All right. So yeah, that's the midpoint formula. The distance formula is right there. So that's my distance formula. And I do it without the letters in it. I just do the blanks because that's the easiest way to look at it. Now it says, given the endpoints 2, -3, and 10, 3, find the midpoint. Again, relatively straightforward. So 10 plus 2 over 2, -3 plus 3 over 2. Remember, we're calculating a point, which means you have x and y coordinates. 12 over 2 is 6, 0. And there we are. I don't combine those. I saw several people on the quiz, when we did this, and they did 6 plus 0 equals 0. That's not a midpoint. Point has x, y coordinates in the coordinate plane. You should know that from Algebra 1. You should be very familiar with that. Distance formula for the next one between A and B, it was -3, 2 and -6, 7. So -3 and 2, -6 and 7. Why do I do the formula first and then put the numbers in? Because we so often get that minus and negative sign situation. And if you just kind of do it all at once, you're going to lose a negative sign somewhere, and it's going to mess you up. So -3 plus positive, that changes it. So -3 plus 6 is square root. Don't lose that. Plus -5 squared. That's 9 plus 25, or the square root of 34, which does not simplify. You could say, well, 34 is 17 times 2. Yeah, that's true, but neither one of those is perfect squares, so that doesn't help me. All right? So there we go. Now, wait a minute. Did I copy some? I copied something down wrong. I did. It was -7. So plus positive. So that should be 9. There we go. Let me get this corrected. So that'd be square root of 90, which does simplify. Square root of 9 times square root of 10, 3 root 10. And again, the simplifying square root process and using the distance formula, get used to it all year long. Keep doing it over and over and over again. So again, double check. Always double check. Next page, it says ST bisect segment LM at R. LR is 9.3. Find RM and LM. Well,
In the middle.
okay, so you have L, R, and M, where we have this is a bisector. What does it mean that it's a bisector?
Through the middle.
Middle point splits it evenly into two pieces. LR is 9.3, so we label that. What are we looking for? We're looking for LM. I'm sorry, this is supposed to be M. Okay. Okay. So 9.3, this also has to be 9.3. That's 18.6. All right. Complement and supplement. What does complement mean? No.
No. Oh.
Add up to 90, and supplement means 180. So if it's 71 degrees, what would the complement be? 19, and supplement would be 109. Okay. Again, given pictures here. We had 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're told measure of angle 2 is 53 degrees. 4. What is the name of the pair for 2 and 4? No. 2 and 4. Vertical angles, yes. And so it would be congruent, 53 degrees. What about 2 and 3? What's the name of that pair? That's a linear pair, and they have to be supplementary, which means they add up to 180, yes. So that's going to be 127. Okay. Okay. Number 12, several parts. A, 5 and blank are corresponding angles. Let me redraw this in case somebody's watching on podcast real quick. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's how these are numbered. These are parallel lines. All right. 5 and what are corresponding angles? 1 would be corresponding. Not 3. 5 and 3. What do we call 5 and 3?
Corresponding interior.
No. Consecutive interior. Okay. And again, use the words. Actually, it's like it gives you a word bank right here in the problems, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So you should be able to get those names accurately and even spelled correctly because you're given the names, essentially. 4 and what are alternate interior? 4 and 5. 6 and what are consecutive interior? 6 and 4.
Wait, that's a 4?
That's a 4.
Oh.
I can't see.
Okay. 2 and what are alternate exterior? 7. And 7 and what are linear pair?
8 and 5.
8 or 5. It doesn't matter. Angle 8 or angle 5. Now, when you're naming those, if you just said 7 and 8, that would be wrong. Why? Angle 8, not just 8. You need the angle symbol because you're naming an angle. Don't just throw a number down. Actually give the symbol that goes with it. That's how picky we are. 13. And I'll tell you what, I'll bet half the people in here looked at this picture and did 5x minus 11 equals 4x plus 1 when you first looked at the picture. Okay? Because it looks like they're about the same. And again, being creatures of habit that we are, we don't like to read the instructions. We look at the picture and like to think that, oh, I understand it just looking at the picture. But if you read the instructions, it tells us a different story. It says the measure of ABC is 98, find ABD. It doesn't tell us it's a bisector. If it said that BD is a bisector of angle ABC, then we would do the opposite. We would actually set them equal. But it doesn't. It says ABC is 98, so we have to add them. 5x minus 11 plus 4x plus 1 equals 98. Now, We get this far, I had a couple people who made mistakes in the last quiz, in the algebra. So please be careful about the algebra mistakes. Folks, let's continue to pay attention up here, please. Thank you. Okay? The mistake people were making is like they were doing minus 4x, minus 4x. What's wrong with that?
This is a combined like terms, not
Yeah.
the weight like terms.
Because this side of the equation, I just took away 8x. What did I take away from this side?
No.
Nothing. So therefore, am I still having a good equation?
No.
No. I got to combine the like terms. 9x minus 10
Can you like add,
equals 98.
add the 11 to the other side of the 11?
You could, but it's easier to combine first.
Yeah.
So 9x equals 108, divide by 9, and x equals 12. Then we could find the measure of the angles by substituting 12 into the equations. This actually wound up being 49 and 49, which makes it a really not such a good problem, because if you set it up wrong, you'd have got the right answer. But I would be checking your setup, and you still get points off for setting it up wrong, even though the answer wound up being correct. M is the midpoint, so the 4x minus 12 does equal a negative 2x plus 21. Any difficulty there? Uh, 6x equals 33, yeah, so x is 5.5. Just fine. And then you have to substitute that in to find PR. 5.5 would have to be substituted in for x. So it's like 21 minus 12, 11, 22, I think it is, for the whole length. Or PR, that's half of it. No, 14. 20 it winds up being. 20. All right, number 15. Find the value of x. Again, we have to set up and solve an equation. And honestly, these are still the ones that give people the most hassle. What do we call that pair of angles? A linear pair. And what do we know about them? They have to be supplementary, which means what am I going to do with them as far as equation goes? Add them up and equal to 180. So you get 14x plus 26 is 180. Subtracting 26. 14x equals 154, so x is 11. Now the question asks, find the value of x, so that's it, we're done. So, watch that. Be careful with that. Don't just assume you know what's going on. Actually look at the problem, try to work it out. 16, angle A and B are supplementary. What does that mean? They add up to 180. So find x. Again, no picture, but we don't need a picture. Negative 3x plus 90 plus negative 5x plus 150 is 180. So it's negative 8x plus 240 is 180. So negative 8x equals negative 60. Divide by negative 8. Negatives cancel. X is 60 over 8, which is 30 over 4, 15 over 2. Notice we don't have to change that into a mixed number or anything like that. 15 over 2 is a perfectly good answer. Okay? If you use 7.5, that's okay, but 15 over 2 is just fine. 17, find the value of x. Again, parallel lines. We're given that these are parallel. That's important, because if we weren't, we might not know what we know. 80 and x plus 15 are my angles. What's the name of that angle pair? And alternate interior angles must be congruent. So 80 equals x plus 15, so x is 65. That's pretty easy. 18. Similar. 5x plus 23. 7x plus 13. What's this angle pair? Corresponding, which means they have to be congruent, yes. So 5x plus 23 has to equal 7x plus 13, or 2x equals 10, so x is 5. Finally, our level 4 problems. Two angles form a linear pair. The measure of one angle is 5 times the measure of the other. Find the measure of each angle. Well, let's go with what we got. Two angles form a linear pair. Let me see my cards. What?
Those were cards.
Yeah, they were. So what does it mean, supplementary?
I guess it might add up to 880. I don't know.
Okay, and they're linear pair even, so let's draw just a picture. When I don't have a picture, maybe my strategy is draw a picture. They add up to 180, so this plus this is 180. Now the relationship we know is 1 is 5 times as much as the other. So if I call this one n, how much is this going to have to be? 5n. Ah! So 6n is 180, so n is 30, which means my angles are 30 and 150. There we go. Okay? Not a really, really hard problem, but definitely one that makes you go to the next level. Because they don't give you the picture, you got to draw the picture. They don't give you the equation, you have to use the information in the problem to come up with the equation. That's definitely taking it to the next level. Our last problem, find x and y. Again, kind of interesting. Drawing mainly for the folks on the podcast here, in case you don't have this in front of you. So 8x minus 5, 10x plus 14, and 20y plus 1. All right. We only work with one variable at a time whenever possible, unless it's like in the last quiz we had two variables in the same equation and we have to work with two variables at once. But here I don't have to, so 8x minus 5 and 10x plus 14 I'm going to work together. What's the relationship for those two? Are they congruent? No. Not congruent, are they? They are what? What are they? What kind of pair of angles is that? The 8x minus 5 and the 10x plus 14. Linear pair. Come on, folks. Stay with it here. Heads up. You can't even follow along what's going on if your head's down because this is picture based. You got to keep your eyes up here. All right? It's a linear pair. So that means they do what?
Add up 180.
There we go. So 8x minus 5 plus 10x plus 14 is 180. It's 18x plus 9 is 180. So 18x is 171. 171 over 18. Does that come out somewhat nicely? I don't think so. Yeah, well, 9.5. That's not so bad. Okay. Now that I know that, I can substitute that back in to find the measure of this angle. So 8 times 9.5 minus 5 means this angle is 71 degrees. And 10 times 9.5 would be 95 plus 14 is 109. And sure enough, that adds up to 180. Now, I still need to find y. Yeah.
Where did you get those numbers to use?
What do you mean, what numbers? These numbers? Once I found the value of x, once I found what x equals, I use that value back in the original equations.
No, the numbers you first started with, like 8x minus 5.
That was what was on the worksheet. Those are given to us. Oh, okay.
Wait, I thought we were number 19.
We finished 19. Okay. So now we've got that, now I can figure out this because the 20y plus 1 has to equal what? 20y plus 1 has to be which angle? 20y plus 1
71.
has to be the same as this angle 71. So minus 1, so 20y is 70, so y is 7 over 2, 70 over 20, which is 7 halves, or 3 1/2. You could leave it as 7 halves, that would be fine. That's your test. Do not assume that you know what the problem is going to ask based solely on the picture. Always read instructions. Always double check your answer. Always look to see, did I maybe lose a negative sign when copying something down? Did I copy down the right numbers? It happens to the best of us. It hadn't happened to me right here. I copied down the wrong number. I did a positive 7 instead of a negative 7. Changed my entire answer. You have to be careful. Use the correct symbol. If you're asking him a line, use a line symbol. If you're asking him a ray, use a ray symbol. Watch the fact that opposite rays have the same beginning point, that if you use two names to the same ray, again, use the same beginning point to some other point along the way. All right? That's what's going to be on your test. Now, if there's something you didn't understand from this, make sure that you're working on it tonight. Also, just because we really... Oh, someone spilled some coffee or something on this book. Since we didn't do a chapter, since we kind of skipped all over the place, it's hard to pick and choose review problems from the book. But what you can do is look at just the different sections we worked on and rework problems from the homework. So a good study technique for this is to go back and rework problems from the homework. Or, even better, to go back and redo this test again tonight. You know, cover up your answers and redo it. Do the same problems over again. Make sure you understand how to do each problem. If you don't understand how to do each problem, you're going to have difficulties. All right? You have to know that. You have to know how to do this stuff. Tomorrow is retake day. Put that away and leave it put away. Tomorrow's retake day. So if you have anything that you need to retake in the testing center, I will go get it and bring it in here. But if there's something else you want to retake, you can retake it tomorrow. But you do have to complete the same requirements as always, and that is you have to make corrections on your original quiz. So make sure that you've done that. If you don't have retakes to take tomorrow, it's going to be study time for you. So make sure you have something to quietly study because other people are going to be in here taking retakes. All right. Make sure that's done. Any other questions? There's no specific assignment